It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Adelaide is quite unique because we're not like Melbourne where there was there's lots of units and apartments, and same with Sydney that were available. This was sort of more of an established sort of home, bigger block market. Certainly from a unit side, we've seen there's growth definitely in new builds, and that's at accelerated growth as government responds to sort of housing demand in terms of supply. But also, and what we've said from the very beginning is to this first home buyer market, or even to downsizes, is the fact that look for what's an affordable option and just get a foothold in the market.
And that is Andrea in Adelaide this morning as we welcome you back to the Real Estate Breakfast, the largest podcast channel in Australia, over 1,300 episodes. Another morning of mulling over what is happening in the property market, and we are going to take you back to Adelaide in just a moment. You can stream us anytime, anywhere on multiple platforms, including iHeartRadio and Spotify. Or perhaps tell a friend who might be into real estate just like you. Tell them about the Real Estate Breakfast. We have new listeners every day. And why shouldn't they be friends of yours who can join in on the conversation? I say it all the time, more the merrier. It's a family of people interested in buying and selling real estate. It is a Wednesday. We're in the middle half of our working week, September the 17th. Not long ago, a house in Adelaide, boy, this is quite sobering, was 500 grand, there or thereabouts. That was pretty realistic. But you go fast forward 5 years now, and that same budget barely gets you in the door. Now, back in 2020, the city's median house price was $492,000. I remember us talking about it. And now, PropTrack, with their data, is telling us that it has surged right up to $925,000. For buyers capped at $500,000, there are now 0 suburbs across metropolitan Adelaide with a median house price under that mark. Though units, and we're going to talk about this, remain a much more affordable option in 23 suburbs. So let's catch up with Andrea Heading. She is the Chief Executive from the Real Estate Institute of South Australia. And welcome, Andrea, to the Real Estate Breakfast. Great to have you on. Firstly, I want to sort of just pick up on something we were talking about off air. You don't come from the real estate industry per se. You're bringing in a fresh perspective there for the Real Estate Institute of South Australia.
Correct. So a commercial background, from my perspective, I've worked across government, motor cars, transport, tourism, digital startups, so a background in a lot of areas that in businesses that need a fresh perspective on looking sort of really underneath the bonnet, because sometimes you can be quite insular and be really specific on your industry, but it's more of industry experience outside and bringing sort of some practicalities I've learned on the way into the Real Estate Institute here.
You would be a little bit of an outlier as far as that's concerned, because I speak to a lot of your equivalents in different markets around the country, and they're all coming from real estate backgrounds.
That's right. My big thing for me is about membership, getting to know the member. That's sort of, and what a member journey looks like in terms of, representing real estate agents. And secondly, I've worked really closely with government over previous jobs I've had, and we're sort of in a state, particularly in South Australia, of massive reforms from rental tenancies, what will happen in the Land and Business Sales and Conveyancing Act. Government takes a particular approach. I think dealing with government takes a particular approach as well. And from my perspective, it's all about how to collaborate. What does collaboration look like? But particularly as we represent, property investors, landlords, and the real estate market. So, fresh eyes.
Yeah, great to have those fresh eyes. And what about those numbers coming in from PropTrack? It's pretty remarkable. And it's only across a 5-year period from $492,000 for a house to right up into the $900,000.
A big thing that happened, and I know everyone talks COVID, but certainly there was an accelerated return of expats to Adelaide across 21, 22, as the lockout laws were in other states, when there was that window of opportunity to be able to, quickly jump borders. So we did see a big return of what sort of people coming home that, might have left a long time ago. They certainly had deeper pockets, more money to spend than, say, traditionally what, socioeconomically this market looked like. Really, the growth started happening from 20, 21, 22 to the point where we are now, where it's sort of like just under $1 million according to the project results. It's the style of buyer that's coming, probably the money that they've got to spend, maybe cost of living pressures for them that might have been, is a different scenario here in SA than what it was in other markets. Other thing that works really in our favour too is the fact we've got low unemployment figures. So there's this double salary. It's a sort of healthy state, or it's a healthier state to be in at the moment. A lot of factors that are sort of making these sort of prices rise.
And that is Andrea we are talking to in Adelaide. We'll come back in just a moment because we want to talk about the units that are selling for under 500 grand, because there are some suburbs. We'll break those down after this.
Remember, we are not a real estate company. We are 100% all about increasing your awareness and knowledge for buying and selling properties.
Remind us, how big is your portfolio and what have you added to that, or if you have added to that in the last 12 months?
Yeah, so we've got 3 properties in Brisbane, a couple of properties in Byron Bay in New South Wales, and just in the last month, been looking at property in Bali.
Wow. Okay, tell us about that. That's really interesting, because we have had emails that have come through where younger people have decided to quit Australia and head off. We've had them moving to Bali, Vietnam, we got an email from. Cost of living, cost of properties, much, much cheaper.
That's right. I actually lived in Bali for 2 years in 2014 and 2015. The cost of living is significantly cheaper. You've got to keep a handle on things because there's always something going on. There's always parties. There's always friends coming over who are there for a good time, not a long time. The cost of living is 25 to 30% of what it is in Australia. But yeah, you have to keep a lid on things because otherwise, my friend lived over there for 3 years, but he ended up employing a driver to drop his kids at school and another person to go grocery shopping for him and another person to clean his pool and mow his lawn. And all of a sudden he had 9 staff and he wasn't actually saving that much money, but he was saving a lot of time.
2 properties. Just break those properties down for us in Bali. Can you give us some price points to make it more relevant?
I was renting a place for $250 a week. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, a couple of 100 metres away from the beach in Sanur, Sanur. It's on the east coast, away from all the nightclubs and things, very family-friendly area. A foreigner can't own property in Bali, but you can take out a lease, like a 25 or 30-year lease. And at the end of that, you have to hand the property back. So what I'm looking to do is, I can lease the property fairly cheaply, and then I can rent it out to an expat, or I can put it on Airbnb and make significantly better returns than the normal, 5 to 7% that you might be making from real estate rental.
Okay, so you've got those 2 properties. Anywhere else around the world that you think you might invest in?
Not as yet, but I have holidayed in a lot of places, and that's how I got to live in Bali, is by holidaying over there a few times and making friends with a few people. So I lived over there for a couple of years, 10 years ago. I literally got back 2 days ago from Bali because I've been over there looking at more properties. But, Thailand, Vietnam, any of those places where an expat or a foreigner can actually buy or lease a property long term, and then somewhere that's a tourist destination where you can actually have, like an Airbnb or a Verbo or whatever they're called, the short-term holiday rental. It's good arbitrage. If you can pay, $300 a week for a place and you can put it back on the market for $200 a night.
Let's fuel your passion for property together. Join us, along with our industry experts, to help inspire and inform your next real estate decision.
And it is a Real Estate Wednesday. We are talking to Andrea Heading, who is the Chief Executive from the Real Estate Institute of South Australia, just sort of going over the numbers. 925,000. Now the median house price, the unit price 642 grand. And Andrea, I'll get you to just talk about the these units that are under $500,000, buyers can still find them in some different suburbs in your city.
And probably looking at the list, like, one suburb I'll call out, which is Karalta Park, around 381,000. Really, that's sort of like, we're always called the 15-minute city, 15 minutes from here to the beach or the hills or whatever. But certainly that is what we would call, almost in a metro. Facility-wise around there, it's great shopping centres. There's infrastructure support behind it as well.
And of course, people are wanting to get into units because they can't afford to buy a house. And if you have a look at that PropTrack data, it is talking about the unit values rising 9.87% over the past year to 642 grand. So there's some movement. Gee, that's nearly 10% up. And the reason is such a large cohort of people going into units.
Adelaide is quite unique because we're not like Melbourne where there was lots of, there's lots of units and apartments, and same with Sydney that were available. This was sort of more of an established sort of home, bigger block market. Certainly there's, from a unit side, we've seen there's growth definitely in new builds, and that's at accelerated growth as government responds to sort of housing demand in terms of supply. But also, and what we've said from the very beginning is to this first home buyer market, or even sort of downsizes, is the fact that look for what's an affordable option and just get a foothold in the market.
Yes, getting that foothold into the market, and Adelaide's market, as you say, has grown, but there are pockets where it is still more reasonable than others. Oh, to go back, 5 years ago when the landscape was fused with COVID living conditions. Andrea, thank you for that update and telling us how you have come from outside the real estate sector, and good luck with the Real Estate Institute of South Australia. And it does remind me on Saturday when we were talking about whether it's smarter to rent or buy under these affordability economic pressures that is just weighing heavily on everyone at the moment.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question that's coming up more and more. And what is the cost of a house or a unit with a mortgage of that same value, and are you willing to live in that? And what is the cost of a mortgage in an area you are willing to live in? So trying to help our clients make informed decisions around the financial aspects of renting versus buying.
Ready to take your real estate knowledge to the next level? So are we.
Yeah, the latest figures for the Gingin town was $675, the median house price, which is considerably lower than the metro area. So again, it's affordability is a big issue. People can get a larger piece of land, a spacious home, a lot less than what they would pay for the same thing in Perth, only half an hour away.
Under 700 grand, you're saying getting a larger piece of land. How big is the site for something like that, and you're getting a 4-bedroom home?
Yeah, well, the lots that we're selling, most of the lots in these regional towns within the Gingin Shire are at least 1,000 square metres. So you find that the 1,000 square metre vacant blocks are selling for around 200,000. Yeah, and you're getting, for 700,000, you'd get a reasonable 3 to 4 bedroom home. 800,000 would buy you a very, very nice home.
And also the savings buffers that were built up through COVID really saw a lot of financial stability during interest rate rises. Mortgage arrears have remained quite low. And now we're starting to see a bit of an improvement in household conditions as well. That savings rate is moving back up.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.